Welcome to this explainer. Today, we are diving into a massive medical mystery surrounding something you probably do or skip every single day, your morning meal. We're going to transform some incredibly complex research into a clear journey through the fascinating world of chrononutrition.
So let's just get right into it. Is skipping breakfast actually a good idea? I mean, a lot of us skip it, right? It just seems like the absolute easiest way to cut a few calories and maybe lose some weight. It's incredibly common. But, well, the underlying science reveals a pretty profound and honestly dangerous contradiction that we really need to talk about.
And this right here brilliantly illustrates our central paradox. On one side, you have clinical trials showing that, yes, skipping breakfast does create a real calorie deficit, but then you look at the massive epidemiological data and it proves the exact opposite for your long-term health. It actively worsens your metabolic health and actually increases your BMI. So how on earth can both of those things be true?
Section 1. The Weight Management Paradox. To wrap our heads around this contradiction, we first have to completely rethink that outdated simple energy balance equation. You know, the whole calories in versus calories out idea. Look at the number 260. When people skip breakfast, studies show they do consume an average of 260 fewer total calories a day. They don't entirely make up for that missed meal later at lunch or dinner. Sounds great, right? But, wait for it, this comes at a steep, totally unseen cost. Skipping that first meal triggers higher LDL cholesterol and, get this, a spontaneous drop in your morning physical activity. Basically, your body's panicking. It's trying to hoard energy because it actually thinks you're in a state of famine.
Section 2. Body clocks and hunger hormones. Because health isn't just a basic math problem about calories, let's zoom way in to the microscopic level of neurobiology. This is where we learn why timing is literally everything.
The secret here is all about a really fascinating biological concept called a Zeitgeber. Think of it as a biological time giver, or, the master conductor for your body's internal orchestra. Breakfast acts as this conductor. It syncs up our internal body clocks and regulates core genes, like clock and BMAL1. And those genes strictly manage how we process fats and sugars in tissues like the liver. When you don't eat in the morning, you literally sever that connection, and your metabolic rhythms just drift completely out of sync.
Let's look at the immediate metabolic fallout of that drift. Researchers gave lean adults a massive pasta lunch where they could eat as much as they wanted. The results were wild. The people who fasted all morning suffered a massive 68% higher insulin spike, and they actually produced fewer satiety hormones compared to the folks who ate a normal breakfast beforehand. We call this the second meal effect. Basically, the body totally panics at the sudden rush of glucose after a long fast, and it just pumps out way too much insulin to try and cope.
And it gets even weirder. Paradoxically, while a morning meal increases your fullness hormones like PYY and leptin all afternoon long, skipping it completely messes with your hunger hormone, ghrelin. Skipping breakfast abolishes the normal suppression of ghrelin after lunch. So effectively, skipping your morning meal rewires how your entire body interprets fullness and hunger. It creates this hormonal chaos that leaves you with poor glucose tolerance and a totally broken signaling system.
Section 3. Metabolic syndrome and heart health. Having seen how fasting just derails our microscopic hormones, let's zoom out and look at the devastating long-term impacts this creates across your entire body. This chronic mismatch, this circadian desynchrony, drastically increases your risk of metabolic syndrome. A massive meta-analysis of over 100,000 participants showed that skipping breakfast significantly spikes the odds of abdominal obesity by a factor of 1.17, hypertension by 1.21, and hyperglycemia by 1.15. Just by missing that one morning meal, you promote an abnormal spike in your sympathetic nerve tone. That leads directly to higher blood pressure and this constant low-grade systemic inflammation.
But here is the most shocking number. 49%. An incredibly large meta-analysis tracking over 2.3 million people revealed that chronic breakfast skipping spikes your risk of cardiovascular disease mortality by a staggering 49%. Why? Because the daily wild swings in blood pressure and that continuous low-grade inflammation we just talked about, they actually physically damage the endothelium, the inner lining of your arteries over time. It is a massive deal.
Section 4. Brains, babies, and athletics. Let's see how this daily damage builds up across totally diverse groups of people, impacting everything from child development to peak athletic performance.
The collateral damage here is just vast. Take kids, for example. A child's brain is so active it demands 25% of the body's total glucose requirement. Skipping breakfast literally starves their cognitive processing. Then look at maternal health.
Pregnant mothers who skip breakfast actually deliver babies up to 41 grams lighter. And athletes, they aren't immune either. Even if they eat a huge lunch, athletes who skip breakfast experience a 4.5% drop in evening time trial performance, all because their daily metabolic rhythm was thrown off right from the start.
Furthermore, looking really closely at maternal habits, missing breakfast during pregnancy increases the odds of neurodevelopmental delays in children at age 2 by 1.75 times. Let that sink in. This firmly proves that fetal circadian programming heavily relies on maternal meal timing. Basically, the mother's clock directly sets the baby's clock.
Now, I know what you might be wondering. What about intermittent fasting? Well, the data proves that early time-restricted eating, where you eat a good breakfast and maybe skip a late dinner, provides far greater benefits for insulin control and blood pressure than late time-restricted eating, which is where you skip breakfast. And this happens for one simple reason. Eating your calories early in the day perfectly aligns with our natural biological clocks.
Section 5. The new dietary blueprint. So how exactly do we fix this morning metabolic crisis using all this new evidence?
Well, the brand new 2025-2030 dietary guidelines actually pivot the focus entirely from when to eat to what to eat. First, prioritize high-quality proteins to kickstart your metabolism. Second, keep healthy fats in the mix like avocados or full-fat dairy. And third, you have got to ruthlessly avoid refined sugary carbs. Seriously, a donut or a bowl of sugary cereal will just spike your blood sugar and totally defeat the entire purpose of setting that morning Zeitgeber.
In fact, if you're looking for a really specific, optimal target, aim for 30 grams of protein in your morning meal. The research shows hitting this specific threshold actually improves your appetite control by 21% throughout the rest of the entire day. It's an absolute game changer.
Ultimately, breakfast is not just some simple math equation of calories in and calories out. It's a metabolic imperative. It protects your heart, it synchronizes your liver, and it fuels your brain. So having seen the deep, microscopic biological impact of that first meal, it leaves us with one really important question to figure out. How are you going to redesign your mornings to protect your long-term health?